Okay, in this video, we are going to talk about a data type which is called bool. That's very famous data type. Actually, it's the most famous data type because it is used in decision making. All the control flow, most of the control flow depends on this data type. Although it is very famous, very much applicable data type, it is very simple. It is a data type with just two states, with just two values. By the way, there are capacities of different data types. For example, in integer, the different kind of values that you can store are huge. You can store any negative number in it. You can store 0. You can store any positive number. The capacity of floating point number, or the number of values that it can save, is even higher than an integer, and the complex number is even higher than that, and so on. But the bool data type, it has just two states. One state is true. It has just two values. True is a value and false is a value. Just these two states, true or false. In some programming languages, the true is denoted by 1 and the false is denoted by 0. But in Python, the true is just true, true, that thing, and false is false. That's it. If you, for example, define a variable, let's say any variable name, whatever the name is, let's say b, and you assign true, then its default data type will become bool. And if you have another variable, let's say c, which is false, then c is also bool. One thing that is important, there are other operations other than arithmetic operators that we saw, adding, subtraction, division, and stuff. There are other operators that we can apply on bool data type. For example, a true and is a keyword, combining true and true. If there is a variable, let's say a, if there is a Boolean variable a with data true, if there is a Boolean variable b with data true, then a and b is also true. So let's say I've used this variable d in storing this a and b. The d will also be true. So true and true is always true. Further, true and false, this is always false. And this is commutative. For example, true and true is true. True and false is false. False and true is false. False and false is false. So if you apply AND operator and keyword to combine the two Boolean variables together, if both are true, then AND will result a true. Otherwise, AND will result a false. Other than this AND, there is another operator, keyword OR. So this results false if both are false. False, false. False or false is false. If any one of these is true, then the result is true. Remember the difference between and OR. And will result false if any one of the two operands, at least one of the two operands is false, then the result is false. If both are, or and will result true if both of the operands are true, otherwise it is false. Or will result false if both of the operands is false, or false, otherwise it is true. So you now know true, and you now know OR. There is another operator called NOT. This is NOT. So NOT, for example, returns not true results false, and not false returns true. Great. So NOT is a unary operator. Unary means it just takes one variable and operate on that. AND is a binary operator, like plus is a binary operator. It takes two variables to operate on. OR is a binary operator. It takes two operators. It takes two variables to operate on, and so on. So remember these things. One, AND will return true if both of the variables are true. Otherwise, the result is false. OR will result false if both are false. Otherwise it will return true. And not just flips the state. So not true means false, not false means true. So these are basically, that's how you can combine the Boolean variables together. In the next video, we will be seeing how to apply these comparison operators, and the result will be Boolean types, and how can we combine the Boolean types together to build a better decision making. So in this particular video, I just introduced the Boolean data type with you. In the next video, we will see where the Boolean data type actually appears and how it impacts our programming style or thinking style or coding style. So hope to see you in the next video with comparison operators that actually produces the Boolean variables. Hope to see you in the next video. Okay, in the last video, I discussed Boolean data type, and I discussed that a Boolean variable takes either a true or a false, and we can combine these Boolean variables together with and or operators, and then we can apply a not operator on a particular variable, and we saw that a true and true returns true, and otherwise returns false. Similarly, a false or false is false, otherwise or always returns a true. Before actually discussing these comparison operators, let's just go to Jupyter and just play with a Boolean data type just for a moment. Let us just convert this to markdown cell and just write bool. That's a Boolean variable. So let's say A is true and B is true and C is false, and okay, so these are our variables. Let's press whos to see what are the states of. So A is a Boolean variable with value true, B is a Boolean variable with value true, C is a Boolean variable with value false. So now A is true, B is true, C is false. So let me print A and B. What do you think? What will be the result? Let me print A and C. What will be the result? And let me print C and A. So because A and B both are true, the first result will be true. Because C is false, true and true is true, the other two statements, they will result false. So first value will be true, then false, false. So yes, true, false, false. Let's check the OR. Print, and by the way, let's store that OR in another variable. Let's say A is true or C is false. So what do you think? What will be the result here? Because OR gives false when both are false. Here A is true, so the value of D will be true. Further, not A, because A is true, not A will be false. Similarly, not B, B is true, so not B will be false. Not C, C is true, C is false, so not C will be true. Similarly, not D, we can save the result in another variable, let's say T, and we can just check the type of T if we want. That's a Boolean. We can also check the value inside T, and that is false. Yes, not only that, I mean, we can combine at a higher level. For example, A and B, whatever the result is, or C or D, whatever the result is, and whatever the result is, not of that. I mean, we can combine them in a very complicated way if we want. A and B, the result will be some Boolean. That Boolean and that Boolean, there are. The result eventually will be a Boolean. and then not of that. So let's check what that is. The result is false. Well, why the result is false? Figure it out why the result is false. Let me go to comparison operators. So the comparison operators, let me just go to comparison operators. This equal to, it compares whether two variables, whatever the variables are, whether they are integer, floating point, whatever, whether two variables they have same data or not. For example, x equals to y, that will be true if x and y, they both have same data. So for example, if x has value 4 and y has value 4, then we are just checking x equal to y or not. The result will be Boolean, because and x may not be a Boolean variable, y may not be a Boolean variable. If we want to compare the values of x and y, then we write double equal without a space inside. Remember, if we write single equal, that will be an assignment operator. If we write double equal, that means we are checking whether the two values are same or not. Similarly, if we write this particular symbol, that checks whether two values are not equal or not. For example, x is not equal to y. The result will be true if x and y, they both have different values. Otherwise, the result will be false. Remember, the result of comparison is always a Boolean. It is either true or false. Okay, next we check whether less than. So for example, if x is less than y, the result will be true if x indeed has a value that is smaller than y. Let's say x is 2 and y is 10. In that case, the result will be a true. Otherwise, the result will be false. Similarly, we can compare the two variables using greater than. We can compare the two variables by less, or whether one variable less or equal to the other. For example, if x is less or equal to y, the result will be true of this comparison. The result will be true if x has a value that is not larger than y. As long as x and y, they are equal, or x is smaller than y, in any case, the result will be true, otherwise false. Similarly, greater than or equal to. Okay, so I end this video here. In the next video, we will be moving to Jupyter and playing with these operators and seeing the return types of Booleans, and then combining them together with ands and ors and doing interesting stuff with that. In this particular video, I just talk about the comparison operators, the Boolean data type, and combining them by and, or not. In the next video, we'll be first moving to Jupyter. We will see the comparison operators. We will write all these statements in Jupyter and just get a good hands-on grip on that. And then we'll be moving onwards. So hope to see you in the next video. So in the last video, I talked about comparisons, double equal to, not equal to, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So let's go to Jupyter Notebook and see how they actually work. So let me just first enter a markdown cell and type that comparisons. Shift enter comparisons. So we can compare different values by first assigning them to variables and then comparing those variables, or we can compare the values directly. For example, print 2 is less than 3. What do you think? 2 is less than 3. The result will be what? Remember, the result of a comparison operator is always Boolean. It is either true or false. So in this case, 2 is smaller than 3. So the result will, because this statement is true, so the result will be true and true will be printed. Further, we can store that result in another variable. For example, 2 is smaller than 3. Whatever the result is, the result will be true. The result will be saved in a variable C. If we check the type of C, as long as let's print the value of C, so you can see the type of C is Boolean and C in this particular case is true. Moreover, For example, let's have 3 equals to 4. Is that true or false? What do you think? 3 equals to 4. 3 double equals to 4. That is false. 3 is not equal to 4. And let's save this result in D. Remember, 3 double equals to 4. That's an operation. The result is false. This equal is an assignment operator that the false value will be assigned to the variable D. And here we can see print D when it is false. Similarly, what do you think? 3 double equal to 3.0. What will be the result? Remember, 3 is integer. 3.0 is a floating point number. And I'm comparing 3 double equals to 3.0. One is integer, another is a floating point number. So what will be the result? Let's see. The result is true because they are comparing the values by discarding the decimal position. Further, let's see. 3 is smaller or equal to, so let's say x is equal to 4, y is equal to 9, and z is equal to, let's say, 8.3, and r is equal to -3, let's say. And these are our variables, let's say. So what do you think? What will be the result here? X is smaller than y. What will be the result of that? X is smaller than y. The result will be true. And z is smaller than y. The result is again true because z is smaller than y. Or r is equal to, for example, x. So what do you think? What will be the result at the end after this? So let's see first this will be true. This will be again true, and that is false. Okay, so this true and true will return true, and true or anything, the result, final result is true. So this will return true. But if I just switch the order, for example, if I just write this statement, which is false, this particular statement here, and then I do this, what will be the result now? Now see, x is smaller than y, it is true. R is equal to x, that is false. So this result will be false eventually. And z is smaller than y, that result is z is smaller than y. Let me just say z is larger than y. Let me just check z is larger than y. Z is larger than y, just to tell you. So this is true, this is false. Both and of these, or let me switch this thing. R equals to x. I just want to show you the precedence of R and x is smaller than y. So now if you see, this is false, this is true, false and true is true, true or false and true is false, this is also false, and the result overall is false. It should happen. But what if this goes first? If this goes first, I mean, I want to show you whether and or, which one of them will operate first. So in this particular case, the result is false, but it can happen. Let me tell you this in more and true or false and true or false and true. What do you think? What will be the result here? True or false and true. If true or false operate first, if true or false operate first, the result will be true. True and true, the result is true. If, however, let me just write a false here. If or operates first, then false or false is false, and false and true is, the result eventually is false. And if and operates first, then false and true is false, false or false. The result in both cases here is false. So a better way of representing these kind of, sometimes they can make confusions. For example, if you have a true here, if you have a false here, for example, false and true, how can I, so false, false and false or true. So in this case, if false or true, that operate first, the result will be true, and false and false, false and true, the result will eventually be false. However, if and operates first, the result will be false here, false or true, the result will be true. So here, if and applies, if and is applied first, then the result, overall result will be true. But if or is applied first, then the overall result will be false. So it is good to know whether and will be applied first or will be applied first. In this particular case, and will be applied first, even if you change this order. For example, even if you pick this thing and you apply here, still the result is and will be applied first and or will be applied after. It is always good, rather than to, one way is to remember the precedence and will be applied first, then or. I mean, it is good to think about the precedence. Another good thing is to specify the order using parentheses. For example, now we specify this first or will be applied and then for and will be applied. So it is good for readability to always apply these parentheses and check the order in which ands and ors and the combinations will be applied. So in any way, the result of these comparisons will be Booleans. Question: what will be the result here? So not 2 not equal to 3 and true, or false and true. See this slide for a while. Even if you want to pause the video, see it and answer. The print will return true or false. Okay, with this question, I end this video. In this particular video, we just saw the comparisons on Jupyter Notebook. Just see how the comparisons return true or false. We combine the different trues and different Boolean values using ands and ors. And here is a question for you. Okay, I will see you in the next video with answer of this question. So I left you with a question in the last video. So that was the question, if you remember. So the question really was, what's the result here? So what's your answer? True or false? The result either will be true or false, because these are all comparisons and combination of Boolean values. So let's see step by step. First of all, let's see this 2 is not equal to 3. The result is 2 is not equal to 3. Yes, it is true. 2 is not equal to 3. That's true. So not true. Not true is false. So this is false. So this whole thing is false. Now false and true false and true, that is false. So this whole thing here till here is false. Now we have or, and then we have false and true. Now false and true is false. So this whole thing is false, this whole thing is false, and or between. So false or false, it is false. So the result of this, so the answer to this question is false. Let me just convince you by typing this statement in Jupyter Notebook. So if you remember, we have print not 2 is not equal to 3, and then we were having, I guess, and false, and yeah, that was a statement, a different one, and true, sorry, that was and true. So this was and true, then we were having or, and then we were having these false and true. So the print ends here, and the result is, oh, I have some parenthesis mismatch. So not true, and this, okay, I should have this one, I guess. This goes to there, and this goes to there, and I guess yes. So the result is false. The result is false. The purpose of this question was not just to, the purpose of this question is to appreciate actually the fact how we can combine different Boolean values to achieve the final Boolean value. And these kind of combinations will become very, very helpful further in control flow when we will see the if conditions and decision making and stuff. So the answer to this question is false. Yeah. And I end this video here. In the next video, we are going to see some useful functions of Python. And after seeing some kind of useful, there are a lot of functions. We will see just a few of them, very useful of them. And after seeing those functions, then we will directly jump to control flow, basically the if conditions and stuff, where you will see these comparisons, these Boolean values in a much more applicable sense than earlier. So hope to see you in the next video.